David, tell everybody what happened to the market yesterday.
You mean like the stock market?
Yeah.
Everybody got, well, a couple companies got hit really hard that were very valuable companies because China came out with an AI model.
China. Say it correctly.
China.
Yeah.
We don't like China.
China. I have to say it like Trump.
I just realized, I didn't even know this at first, I just saw this today, that what they actually released was open source code.
Yeah.
So anybody can take it.
To prove that they really did it.
Right.
Because and now so that tanked one chip company's stock. What's the name of that chip company? That
NVIDIA,
yeah. Now it's called Nvidius. They see that little play on words there, David?
I did see it.
I'm sure I was the first.
I'm not sure everybody did, but I did.
I'm not sure I was the first person that ever came up with that. Yeah, but they came out with this new program. And so I was watching a video from another lawyer, and this particular lawyer, so I'm just starting to get into ChatGPT. I'm finding it to be so amazingly helpful. And the more I use it, the more I learn how to use it. And I get emails and videos and stuff from people saying, here are some GPT prompts that will change your life. And so I watch them. I'm like, I don't need that. No. Oh, really? Oh, you mean I can ask ChatGPT to do that for me? And so I go and I type the prompt. And sure enough, boom, it pops right up. And it's like, wow, that was beautiful. That was really good. That was fantastic. Saved me so much time. Now I'm check that off my list of things to do. And this one particular lawyer, she was in the middle of a trial, and she had a bunch of depositions. So she uploaded the depositions into 3 different AI services and asked it to do everything but backflips practically. Okay. Like, go through the document and identify the most important things for this and give me page numbers. And then, and she put it in ChatGPT. She put it in, and I always forget the name of this other service. It starts with a P. It's another AI platform. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, go ahead and type it in. It's a competitor of ChatGPT. And then they put in this new one, DeepSeek, I think is what it's called. DeepSeek.
Right.
Yep. And she hits enter. Perplexity. Yes, I think that's it. Something like that. Thanks, Malls. And David, she said the results were night and day. And she did this because of the fact that she just heard about this new thing called DeepSeek, and it was so much better. It was taking the world by storm. So she gets a response from ChatGPT. It looks great. Looks fantastic. She goes and she then drills down on it and starts looking at the fine print and seeing if it matches up. She says it was all wrong. It was all wrong. So she goes back to ChatGPT and says, you're wrong. You made these mistakes. Go back and try it again. I didn't really know you could do that with these things, but they go back and she does it again. And the thing is, ChatGPT like apologizes to her, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that," and like all this stuff. So that was kind of weird how that happened. But she ends up going through Perplexity. It was good. It was a little bit better than ChatGPT. But then she gave it to DeepSeek. And David, she said it was chef's kiss. It was beautiful. The results.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So much better than anything she saw from the other two platforms whatsoever. And supposedly the Chinese did this on a wing and a prayer and short money, and it doesn't require all these chips that they're going to require to run these things.
Well, supposedly the processing power is much more, the code's much more efficient, so the
Yeah,
amount of processing power it requires is less.
yeah. So that kind of put a little skunk work in everyone's plans yesterday. Anyone's plans to retire, if that's what they were relying it on. That's why, David, we rely.
The reality is, though, I mean, it basically just set NVIDIA back to where the price was like 3 months ago. That NVIDIA's been climbing and climbing and climbing. That
brought it back down to reality.
Brought it back to where it was like 3-4 months ago. I mean,
kind of like Bitcoin and all those other things.
Well, yeah, Bitcoin's back up to almost all-time highs again. It's over 100,000 again.
Yeah, I mean, I look at one of our students, our fellow friends, sent me an article from the Washington Post that gives a clear detail as to how to, what's going on with crypto. And of course, David, you open it up and it's behind a firewall. And the last thing I'm going to do is give those Chinese people my credit card information so they can run the Washington Post.
Oh, come on. Jeff Bezos will protect your credit card.
Not a chance. We're getting good news on our hotel thing. I don't know if you saw that. No, you didn't. This guy's a bridge lender and can close a deal your size out in 3 to 4 days. Don't know his cost, but might be worth looking into. Dave can't get it done in time. In case Dave can't get it done in time. Yeah, sure. I'll believe when I see it. So many of these people have been led down a primrose path. Okay, David, you and I need to talk about the essential tools for identifying the perfect multifamily market. So let me start from that, like the 60,000 foot view, just so everybody understands this. Go and look at the state that you're working in. Go on Google, type in the state strategic plan cities and towns. And what your first should pop up is the legislation that, in my understanding, exists in all 50 states, where every city and town, and I said 10 years, David, you said it goes up like 20, every 10 years has to come up with a strategic plan for what that city or town is going to do in the next 10 years, which is really cool. I love how they do this because it gives us goals to set for in the towns that we live in. But more importantly, from our perspective as investors, we get to look at what are we buying in a growing emerging market? Are we buying in a market that's taking off? These guys are forward thinking. Where's the development going to be? What are they going to do for certain neighborhoods? All these great questions. I mean, if you go take a look at Nashville. So what happens is the states upon high mandate to the cities and towns that they have to create a strategic plan. Then the cities and towns go out and they start working on their strategic plan that they have to turn over to the state every 10 years. In certain cities, they actually break that down further into neighborhoods. And the neighborhoods have associations that come up with these strategic plans. One of the best examples I've ever seen is Nashville, Tennessee. And Nashville has great, like East Nashville. That's a great little community. They have their own strategic plan for how they want to grow East Nashville. So when you're looking at particular markets, make sure you drill down into that level to give yourself a huge perspective on what's going to happen in the next, what's projected to happen in the next 10 years in that community. So David, when you look at a particular marketplace, what type of tools do you go for?
Well, I mean, I think I start, trust them or don't trust them. I start with the government tools, right? I mean, The Federal Reserve website has an incredible amount of information on it that we can access, and it's relatively current information.
All right. So can you explain to me the Fed Reserve of St. Louis versus the Federal Reserve of some other towns? Because what I've noticed is that certain Federal Reserves have better data, research information than others. Why is that?
Boy, you're kind of putting me on the spot there. I'm
Oh,
not.
you don't know?
I'm
Okay.
not even. I'm not even sure. But you are right. I do look at the Federal Reserve of St. Louis quite a bit.
Yeah. Their data is off the chart. It's phenomenal. Like you've got to, if you look at that, if any data, you've got to put the Federal Reserve on one of your.
You want me to quick ask DeepSeek why that is?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh no, David. Well, unless you already have an account, I tried to get on DeepSeek today to test out what that lawyer had said, and it wouldn't give me the information.
No,
I couldn't create an account.
I have not done anything on DeepSeek yet.
Yeah. Do you use Chat GPT?
All the time, every day.
Okay, so what do you use it for? Let's have just between us girls. What do you use it for?
Everything. I mean, I'll ask it like I'm working in some software application, like Excel. Let's say I'm working in Excel, and I'm like, well, I need a formula to calculate this, and this from this, and this.
Yeah.
And it will like give me the the perfect syntax of the formula or whatever.
Yeah.
I can just copy and paste it out of there. That's one thing I do. I'll ask it, like, let's say I'm reading something and I don't understand some terminology, right? I'll ask it, okay, what's a TRA report with, in the real estate industry or whatever. And what I noticed is that it gives me explanations kind of like I would give other people, right? I tend to be that engineer and I tend to like over explain everything to the nth detail. I mean, it gives you like a lot of information. You ask it a simple question, it gives you a complex answer.
Yeah.
But a good answer usually.
But you can ask it to answer it as an eighth grader.
Right.
Like make this, there was some topic that I was like, that concept, I can't get my hands around it. So I said, explain this to me like an eighth grader. And it did.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one of the problems the schools have now, right? It's like these kids, I mean, they can, tell Chat GPT, hey, write a report on Abraham Lincoln using ninth grade level English or fifth grade level English, right?
Yep. It's crazy. So, all right. So, but you had some tools. I remember early on when you and I were first working together, you had some pretty interesting online tools that you use to evaluate markets. So, what were some of the ones you used?
Well, I mean, I used a couple different ones for crime, but like Neighborhood Scout is one that I've used fairly steadily. I mean, like we were talking before the call started here, I bought this software called RE Indicator. I think RE Indicator, it's been in development now for probably 7 years, and it keeps getting better. But it's interesting because it allows me to go and take a look at a city map very quickly. I can put any major city in the U.S. in, and it will give me a mapping based on a whole bunch of criteria that it uses basically to figure out, okay, this is an A area, B area, C area, D area, right? And you can kind of look at the map and you can say, okay, I probably want to buy in the southwest corner of Minneapolis as opposed to the northeast corner of Minneapolis or the north corner of Minneapolis, because that area is primarily A neighborhoods or B neighborhoods as opposed to, C or D neighborhoods. I mean, I think, it isn't rocket science to figure out like where you want to buy stuff. I mean, most people probably want to invest in, B class apartments. I mean, A class is great, but tends to be too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you just want to know like, okay, where is this area within this city? Is it growing? What are the incomes there? What's the crime there? I mean, like you said, you can look at the 10-year plans or the 20-year plans, right? That's kind of a little bit deeper dive, I think, in trying to figure it out. I mean, you can look at absorption. I think you can get data off of some of these, real estate aggregator sites to look at construction and absorption and, rent profiles, how's the rent trending? What's the typical trend? Like Minneapolis is just a steady Freddy. Basically, it doesn't have these huge, up and down spikes. But if you go and look at a place like Miami or Phoenix or Austin, Texas, I mean, they've kind of traditionally been boom and bust.
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Now, if you look at another thing that we always should be looking out for, especially, is sex offender registries. And I'll tell you something, I've had, hit or miss with those because you have to know how to use them when you go to do the evaluation. What I mean by that is if you go and you type in the address, like your neighborhood, but you set the parameters too far up, it won't show things up that you need to understand. Besides that, and even more specifically, is you've got to understand the laws regarding the sex offender registry in the state that you're working in. So, for instance, in Massachusetts, you have a level 1, level 2, and a level 3. So when you go online and you're doing a review of the sex offender registry, and you put in an address or a town, they'll show you all the sex offenders in that town who are level 1. And then they'll show you any level 2s, but they're not going to show you level 3s. And David, level 3s are the worst ones. They're the rapists.
Right.
Yeah, and you have to physically go down to the police department and request that information. You can't find it online. It's the most backward system, but that's Massachusetts for you because it's a sanctuary.
Do you think it's to protect the privacy of those level 3 people because they feel like a lot of the public may have, I mean, these are the worst of the worst, right? So
they're going to come out with pitchforks. Those guys,
right?
Yeah, but you know what happened in my town was this guy, the level 3 sex offender, became a driver for Pizza Hut. And somebody had to drop a dime to find out that this guy was right around the corner. And I was the guy that went to Pizza Hut and said, "Hey, do you guys know he's a level 3?" And like, shoot, no, we have no idea. We have no idea. And can you imagine that guy showing up at your house delivering your pizza?
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. To your 16-year-old daughter who's home alone.
Yeah. Now he's a state rep in Massachusetts.
Well, that's good.
I'm kidding, but you never know.
Nothing would surprise me anywhere.
Exactly, in Massachusetts, it wouldn't surprise you. So this RE indicator, like one of the things, the thing about that is it showed graphically, because I remember we used that for a couple of the properties that you and I were looking at.
And it was pretty, the sub neighborhoods or the subdivisions were pretty small. I mean, it wasn't like, just showed like 5, areas in a city. I mean, it would break the city down into 100 different zones, right? Because sometimes, I mean, a highway can make a huge difference, right? On one side of a highway could be an A-class neighborhood, and on the other side could be a C or a D.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the way it is in a lot of cities. That's it. The differences are divided by a street. I know Cincinnati is that way from personal experience. I've heard Baltimore is that way. That you really need these types of tools to make sure you're doing it right, especially if you're coming in from another market. I live up here in New Hampshire, but I'm looking at property in Louisville, Kentucky.
Right.
Well, how do I know if I'm buying the right area? You've got to really use these tools to dig down deep and find out if you actually are or not. So that's the key.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you're serious about a property, you can use the tool to get started, but you've got to like boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, as good as the tools are, they're not perfect.
Yeah. So, okay. Let me see what other the street. Tell me about this neighborhood seek.
You mean neighborhood scout?
Neighborhood scout.
That's another one that provides very localized information. It provides a lot of demographics and a lot of crime information, so you can go in and, and I mean, actually a lot of the cities now, their own police departments have this as well, where you can like pull up a map, right? And it'll show you, you can pull up a map and say, in this month, show me all the different crimes that happen. And it'll pop up little icons on the map, right, and give you a list of everything that happened, so you can kind of see like, okay, I don't want to live on the corner of Dale and Grotto in St. Paul because 8 people were stabbed within a block of that neighborhood. However, if I'm 8 blocks away over here, there wasn't even, you know, a shoplifting or a, anything.
Yeah. Let me tell you my experience with using those types of tools, and that is that you have to make sure you set the parameters correctly. Otherwise, you will never buy a property anywhere. Because if you put in like all crimes over the last 3 years in this particular market, well, the whole city will be red dots.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
Minneapolis has 450,000 residents in the city proper, and they
yeah,
have, 82,000 police
report.
calls a year.
Exactly. And so if you don't put the right parameters, you're going to see 82,000 dots all over. There's like, wow, this place is terrible. No, so you got to make sure you're looking at felonies, crimes against the person, over the last 3 months as opposed to the last 3 years. You really narrow it down.
Right about that. Yeah.
But then the other thing too, which I always did, was I just typed in like the name of the address of the property I'm looking at, and just hit enter, and I waited to see if any murders or arson or anything like that took place on the property. Um, oh, David, you see that lookout? It says, I used to live in Selby Dale in St. Paul. It was notorious.
It was. It was. I know that area. It was.
You want any property there?
No, actually, to be honest, my grandmother, my father's mother, lived in St. Paul, not too far from there, and so my
Well, she was a felon, wasn't she?
not until later in life.
Yeah, until she started stealing from the
No,
rest of them.
she used to. I was like a 12-year-old kid, and she used to take me around that area, but it was in decline even 50 years ago.
Yeah, well, my grandmother was the same way. She moved out of Dorchester, moved into Mattapan, and that was declining at the time. It's coming back now. It's amazing how those areas are regentrifying. People are
They
moving.
are. There are so many areas that are regentrifying.
Yeah, yeah, which is great. It's good news. All right, now the final one we're going to talk about. There are actually two of them. I know more about one than the other, but CoStar and Crexi. Those, especially Crexi. Crexi's got market intelligence in there that is actually pretty darn good. And CoStar was using a system that was more granular than the market type of system, where you and I, David, talk about A, B, C, and D quality assets. They were using a star system, like 1 star, 2 star, 5 star, and in order to get those stars, they had like 33 different parameters that they would use to rate a property.
Okay.
So instead of just you and me saying, "Ah, that's a C," "Ah, that's a B," they were saying, "Oh, that's a 2.5 to 3 star." So that was kind of interesting on CoStar's part. Yeah, but Crexi is. Let me see. I'll pull up my Crexi. I'll share my screen. Let's see. Oh, maybe I don't have that. Let me pull up this. If you can, where are we? Over here, there, share my screen. Present, here we go. All right, can you see that, David?
I can see it. It's a little bit small, but I can see it.
Yeah. So let me see if I can make it bigger. There we go. Yeah, so this gives you an idea of all the types of information you get from Crexi. It tells you property name, all the sales comp information in a particular area. You can just type in the address, and this. If I just want to look at, I can filter this. So record all types. If I just want to look at multifamily, and where am I looking right now? Oh, this is in Nashua. Yeah, so there we go. But you can really start to drill down on lease date, sold date, lease rate, record type, whether it's sales comp, lease comp. But these are, this is just one of the tools. They all tell you that they're the best thing since sliced bread. And when you first get to know them, they are, like, for instance, I thought CoStar was awesome until I saw Crexy. I thought Crexy was awesome until I started finding it was unable for me. I was unable to get the data that I needed off Crexy. So, it's everybody's coming out with the next best mousetrap and all this information. You just got to keep on top of it. Just stay on top of it. So,
well, you got to believe that this whole AI thing is going to have an impact on big data like that, right?
oh my gosh, and that's the thing. I'm actually working with someone right now. We're trying to figure out if we can use AI to go in there and start to do everything from identifying properties. Like, David, let me kind of give you a little trick on what we're looking at, and this is just that we want to be able to just say are looking for the best opportunities in Nashua for multifamily, and we hit the prompt, and you put in a little bit more information, but it will actually spit out an offer on a property that meets your parameters. Think about that.
So you're going to give it a set of parameters, and you say, if A, B, C, and D are met, then I want to buy this.
Right.
And price would just be one parameter, right? There'd be a whole bunch of and you'd have to judge price based off of something. It'd have to be some kind of a ratio type thing.
So what we're thinking is, and we're able to go in and pull out all this information. If we go and just to think about how it would start, and I won't get into the real granular part about it, but think about this. We as investors look for opportunities, value add opportunities. So there are two parameters that we could look at in order to determine that. And especially for single family home investors, this could also work out better than for multi. But here's how it goes. If I know that in a particular area of town, the rents for a 2-bedroom and the rents for a 1-bedroom should be around this, and then I go and I do searches on rents.com or apartments.com, and I see that, or Craigslist even for certain properties, I see that the rents being offered on a particular property are well below what that area is looking for, then I know I have an opportunity there to drive the rents. So that's a property I want to take a look at. Now, how do I get to the point of knowing how much to offer? Well, we're going to have to take into consideration some numbers for the expenses, so we can kind of come up with an NOI that makes sense. So from a multifamily standpoint, those are the types of things we're talking about with AI. Now, let's say on a single family side, what we would do is we would look at all the data in a particular city or town from their tax authority, from their assessing department. And then we could look at similar properties on the same streets, and we would look to see how long has the person lived there. Is this on a per square footage basis rated lower by the assessor's office than other people on the street? Well, this property is probably owned by an older person. They're not keeping it up. The value is going down. I want to go in there and buy that property, so I'm going to focus on that. So just by putting this type of information into AI, it's doing all the work for you. It's finding the properties for you and telling you, go talk to this owner. Go, start a dialogue with these guys. This is an opportunity for you. So that's what we're seeing,
right, as
potential. And that's what I'm actually.
Poor old people, they're going to get harassed like crazy once this stuff becomes available. Everybody's going to be saying, "I want to buy your house. I want to buy your house." They're like, oh,
yeah. Can you imagine?
Who told you I wanted to sell my house?
Oh, AI did. They told us your house is a piece of crap. So yeah, that's why we're calling you. Who's this AI guy? Yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah, but that's the thing is, we're trying to figure out how to keep it as proprietary as we possibly can. But it's out there. You just have to,
Right.
and this whole thing where like DeepSeek is now getting even more, even able to do more things than the other guy could. And where does it end? Where does it end?
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
When was the last time I went to Mattapan? I had to drive from like Dedham to through Dorchester. So that was the last time, Gary. Gary's asking me that question, I bet, because it hasn't been regentrified. But parts of it have. Parts of it have. Mattapan was actually the nicer area at one point, I believe. At least that's what my in-laws. So not my in-laws, my family, my mother's side told us. So we'll see what Gary has to say. So, all right, David, we're past our half hour. We have to put more coins in the machine, or we have to jump off. You have your homework that you need to get done by 5 o'clock. That's your next thing you need to do. And here's the thing, David. Here's what I recommend. Next time you and I are on, let's do a deep dive for everybody on the Federal Reserve of St. Louis and show them exactly how cool it is, the data that they have in there, and we'll both try to play Stump the Professor with that information. Okay?
Sounds fair.
Cool. All right, David, good to see you as usual. Good. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. We had a good crowd this morning, and we will talk again next Tuesday. See you all.